Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sarah and Adam Show. We're talking about the season finale of Willow and the third episode of season 2 of Bad Batch today. I'm joined with the more important of the two of us, Sarah.
It was very hard to take that seriously because you sounded very enthusiastic about it and like you really
Mm.
believed yourself while you were saying
I did. I said it with conviction.
it. How are you?
Oh, you know. How are you?
You know.
Yeah. So, uh, we've been done with Willow today.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to decide someone I get it's funny, he's like, I haven't been listening because I don't watch Willow, but so it's not like a viewer or listener, but he is kind of. He requested for us to do the what's it called? The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. It starts on Sunday.
Right, which is a good lead up for Pedro Pascal, because then we're like because for Mandalorian, because he's like the main character in both, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. So we would have a ton of content regarding him.
Yeah, well, then it's like, oh, well, I don't need him to take off his helmet. I already know what I would get.
I would like you just, if we do watch it, uh, just remember that sentiment and then apply it. Apply what you see Joel, his character, as, and put that into Mando. I feel like maybe it would fit actually.
They seem like pretty similar characters just from the previews. I don't know anything about The Last of Us, so I could be totally off, but they do like he seems like paternal, like he has the instincts of being like a protective dad who wants
Mm-hmm.
to keep the kid alive, and thriving and doing well. It's like he does the same thing. Just Grogu looks different.
Grogu looks different. Yeah,
You know,
slightly.
a little bit. Yeah.
So yeah, do we want to watch it?
I don't know. That let us know on Discord if you guys are interested. Of course, if people don't listen, then they won't know. But come to our Discord and tell us about it. So it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the most fun ever, potentially.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, it's not terrifying.
Yeah, I will say that if it gets really scary, I'm not into horror. Like I like The Walking Dead, and I guess people call that horror. And I
Mm-hmm.
never thought it was horror. I thought it was just like pretty tense sometimes and
Yeah.
intense, gory, all these things, but like nothing that I was like afraid of. I was never like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? I was always just like, uh, you know, I I'd feel tense. That's about
Yeah.
it. That's about all.
Yeah, I was the same way with The Walking Dead. So if it's similar to that, it will be fine.
Yeah, but if it does get like actually legitimately creepy, I will probably pull the plug on it. I'll just be like, you know what? I'm afraid.
Fair enough.
It'll
I,
be good.
I was terrified playing the game, so
Well, I just think it'll be nice to get some use out of this HBO subscription that I have that I never turned. I got for the Game of Thrones show, and I never turned it off. So
you didn't cancel it?
no, I should have.
Oh
I've
man.
had, but yeah, it's just like just draining money. I'm like, oh, I could actually like that's how twisted your mind gets. You're like, instead of like, oh, I should just cancel it. Now that I thought of it, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get some value for it now.
Yeah,
Like it's not even an option to really cancel it. It's just like, oh, value.
because you'll be
So
watching a show.
So I literally haven't opened it. Like no one in my house has opened that app since the last of the Dragon show was done.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't watched anything since Dragon Show either on it, so we're in the same boat.
You didn't cancel it? I'm gonna judge you just like you judged me.
No, it's part of my cable thing.
Your cable thing?
Yeah, my subscription package, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, it sounds like a Canadian thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay for Canada.
Canada.
I'm not even drunk.
Oh man. Okay. So we may or may not watch that. We'll see.
Yeah.
I will probably watch it only because I'm curious how it compares to the video game. But
I, I wanted to watch Squid Game. That's what I wanted to watch.
I tried that. I got like 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes in, and I was like, no, not for me.
I just don't have spare time. So it's just a dream. The other day I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch this thing. And instead I made a YouTube video.
There you go.
And then it was late and I went to bed. And I was like, I don't get to do things I want to do with my life. There you go, guys. A look behind the curtains at Zareth's at Adam's depressing
No.
lack of life.
So instead of watching Squid Games, you might watch The Last of Us. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
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 There wasn't really a ton of news either this week.
No, they're saying that there's filming in for the Acolyte, the Star Wars show, all the way through April, which makes me wonder if it's even going to be this year.
Yeah, like that might be. If it is this year, I wouldn't expect it before like December.
Yeah, it'll probably be The Last of Us. I mean, The Last of Them.
Although
The
if
shows.
they are filming through April and then they released it in like September, I would 100% just be like, see this Prime? See what you could be doing with Wheel of Time? Get your act together.
Right. Yeah, I remember how you don't think that Prime is doing what they should be doing. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Wheel of Time, man. It's they're a mess.
Yeah, it's a huge mess. Just give me season 2.
You still reading book 5?
Yeah, actually I am.
Is it any good?
Yes, it is.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
it is. So, I'm not that far in. I think I'm on chapter
She's like,
17.
I'm on chapter 2.
No.
I was waiting for
No. I'm on
You're
chapter
like, well,
17.
technically I've read a few pages into it, so I'm like, two and a half. You round up. So I mean, I don't know what that means though. Chapter 17 is. Did you know at one point there's one chapter. I don't want to give spoilers for the
Mhm.
books, but I think this isn't really a spoiler. There's one chapter that's over 100 pages.
Oh boy.
I won't tell you what it's called, but people who have read the series will know exactly which one I'm talking about. Actually, I don't know if it's over 100. It's real close though. It's just like it just keeps going.
Did you ever like when I was younger and stuff and I would read, oh, sorry. I would read before bed and I'd be like, okay, I'll read a chapter before bed. I feel like that would be like the thing
Right.
where you're like, I'll read a chapter before bed and you're there.
And you're just there until like you're late for work.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty epic. I mean, there's a lot of little breaks in there though, I will say.
Mhm.
Like it's a very busy chapter. There's a lot going on. But
Is that in this book or in just like one of the books in general from the series?
one of the books.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, it's far in the future for you.
Sad.
It's actually chapter 18 of the current book.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. I'm at I will maybe mini spoiler for anyone who hasn't read it. It's basically Elaine, and right now it's Elaine and Nynaeve and Tom and Julian all talking about Galad being a white cloak, and
Yeah.
Elaine's talking about like if her mom is going against the tower now or something, and she's only going to, she said something along the lines of only speaking to her through letters or whatever. So it sounds like they're all kind of slowly learning that Swan's not oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her title.
Amerlin.
That's the one. That she's not the Emerald seat anymore. Yeah. Yeah. It's
There's
good though.
Well, yeah, it's a good book. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't suck. Did you know initially there's only going to be 6 books in that series?
How did they go from 6 to 13, 14, however many there are?
Um, no idea.
um,
I think it just ballooned out. I think well, you can kind of tell like the first few books are a lot more tightly like you know,
right,
Rand has his confrontation with the Dark One way earlier and
right,
stuff. Then it's all big monumental things happen, and then he just kind of starts pumping the brakes a little bit.
right.
He's like, let's go explore the Isle.
And you have a
That was
bunch of
fun.
these little like side quests.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, isn't it book 5 that our initial intro was recorded from?
I think so.
I think it's with Rand talking to the chiefs,
Hmm.
the clan chiefs. Yeah, by
Hmm.
my honor and the light.
Yep.
So, anyways, we're not here to talk about Wheel of Time. Screw Wheel of Time. No, it's great. But let's talk about Willow.
The finale.
The final one. Yep. It's called Children of the Wyrm, or as other people like to call it, Worm. The immemorial city awaits refuge of the wicked crone and her dark designs. I love that it says the wicked crone. Like we don't get to think that maybe she actually has some like benevolent thing to offer.
Right.
Like it has to be a wicked crone. Like we just we go into it marching in there knowing that she's not okay. She's not right in the head. She should be stomped out and killed.
Which I think was the vibe that you get right away from her.
I kind of like there's a little bit of just like she's all smiley and
Hmm.
I don't know. Uh, uh, she was so weird. I was like, go back, stop being so ugly. Like go back to being attractive.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. I just like I was like yuck. Like stop making me look at her. I don't know. Like she it was just like oh, well whatever. It's yeah, you're right. It doesn't mean anything. It's just me being shallow, but let's go back.
All
So
right.
all right. At the start, everyone decides to jump off the cliff.
Right. You jump, I jump,
Yeah, everyone jumps.
apparently.
Yeah, even Borman jumps.
Hmm. And then.
But Willow's like, nah, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna hang out with Mims. Like, I don't even care. Like, you guys are probably gonna have a skirmish, a big epic battle. It's probably gonna take less than 24 hours.
Hmm.
And he's like, meanwhile, I'm gonna be taking like months and months and months and months of my life to journey back. Like, I can't spare 24 hours to help people save the world.
We're okay. I was a little surprised that he was like, nah.
Right. Well, it's like Willow ex machina is what it is.
I was like, dude, you've been training them and bugging Alora and doing all this stuff and giving them all this crap, and now you're like, nah, hard pass.
No, thank you.
It was
Yeah.
a little bit disappointing from him. Not that I have high expectations of him because he kind of seems like somebody who would just be like, oh well, whatever, and carry on, like
He's
he
kind
did
of
when his best friend died.
he's kind of morally dissolute, isn't he?
Yeah, that's a
I'm
way
just
better way
always
of putting it.
I'm just always like I don't know if I can rely on you. I know I can rely on him to get grumpy when someone doesn't learn something that they want to look him when he wants them to learn it.
Hmm.
That's about it. Like you can count on him to try to sound wise sometimes.
And not jump over the cliff.
All right, and apparently just like not he's like I'm not. It's so silly because they build him at the start of like he's the bravest man I've ever met.
Hmm.
And then he's just like no, No, thank you.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Was not impressed, but they're all there in this whatever city world thing with Eric.
Borman's like, so if any of you guys want to make out for a while or whatever, I'm good with it. It's
uh,
so awkward, and everyone like kind of like looks at each other out of the corners of their eyes. It's so
he's such a he's
delightfully awkward.
he's such an awkward guy.
I really like him. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I feel like it fits with the whole oddballness of the show.
No, yeah, I think he's a good. He's one of the better members. I liked all of them. Honestly, all of the
Hmm.
characters were likable, and I think that that's a big part of why the show was successful. Well,
Right.
to me, I don't know if it's financially successful, but I have enjoyed it.
Right. Um okay, so they all tip themselves off over this cliff or whatever, but we're in the city and it's Alora and Kit with Eric and his new bad boy haircut and clothing.
And he's a zombie,
And he-
apparently.
yeah. And what did you think of their interaction when they were talking to him and it was like Kit and Alora back to back and then they would like swap
Yeah.
around? I was like, I get what you're doing and that you want to keep your eyes on like the cronies behind you as well. Um,
Hmm.
but it was just it, it was kind of um it made me take this moment less seriously because it seemed so like ridiculous to kind of tag team each other into the conversation.
No, I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting. Like it was like they have dual interests, and
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to make sure that all those interests were represented by the right person.
Right.
So, I mean, I thought in that case it was fine. Not to mention, like, there's a lot going on. Like, he's coming from a place of strength in the sense that like he already knows what's going on. I mean, he's been mind enslaved or whatever. But
Right.
like everyone at that palace besides the two girls are just kind of they already know what they're going to be doing, they already know the places, and so the two girls are kind of giving each other breathers was kind of nice, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like think of a fight, think of a fight where you have to fight someone who's probably like stronger than you are, um but you have a friend who can also like stronger than your friend too, but you can like, all right, well, I'm getting beat up right now, like I'm out of energy, like you go in there, good, and give me a breather. Like I feel like they did that for each other mentally, and I kind of liked it. Not to mention it was just so quirky. It was just another version of like an epic fight scene with like a couple people having a heart to heart discussion in the
Right.
back, in the foreground or whatever. So
Like
yeah.
I totally got what they were doing. It just was one of exactly what you said. It was such a quirky thing that I was just like, I can't take this conversation seriously.
Well, I mean, but you're not supposed to anyways,
Right.
because I mean that was the whole thing of like, well, they're clearly evil people here.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um. What else? I mean, I feel like I, we're okay. So actually, overall, were you satisfied with this finale? Before we
Mm.
dive further into it.
Maybe a little. I don't know. Like so, I guess that let me ask you:
Mhm.
was did you ever know about the worm before now? Like I this whole time I thought that we were fighting the crone. I didn't realize that there was some bigger
Yeah, I thought we were fighting the
worm.
crone too. Well, that's what I assumed once we figured that Eric was like, brainwashed.
Right. I thought that the crone was the big bad, and so to find out that she's just like enslaved by, I mean, it's like these layers,
Right.
right? Of the trolls work for, who do they work for? They don't work for the worm; they work for the crone.
Right. But the crone works for the worm.
Right. They're all like it's not like just some random worm. It's like no, no, dude, it's the worm. Like
Hmm.
it's the worm of worms. And so I don't that kind of cheapened it to me a little bit of like, oh yeah, let's like pawn off everything to like this higher power. Like the crone is ultimately just a servant of this bigger being.
Right. You don't really get like a resolution of sorts.
Oh, it's like even if she dies, like she's not even the one that matters.
Right.
So no, I mean also the crone looked way different in this, I will say. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not, like she looked more like she looked like kind of like a devil or a Satan or something, the way she was, but she was like, she was still attractive, but I was like, I'm actually not sure if that's the same actress. I wasn't sure if it
Right.
was actually at first. Um,
Just because it was such a change.
right, right.
Yeah. Uh,
So I don't know. It was no, it wasn't that satisfying. What about you?
I feel like it was okay. I wasn't necessarily satisfied by it. It seemed um it seemed like packed, considering the fact that it wasn't longer than usual, like it was same similar runtime.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it seemed like there was packed with a lot of stuff going on. Like you've got
Mm-hmm.
them there and talking to Eric, and then you have like the crone, and then they're having this whole fight, and Eric turns into a zombie, and it's like this whole thing. There's all this stuff happening.
And there's fake people hanging out in the fake world. Like
Yeah.
people turn into stone and people disguising themselves as sand.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, there is a ton going on here. And I feel like maybe it was just too much for one episode.
Okay. I thought it was I thought it was okay. It was all over the place, but I felt bad for like Cage Face. Like what else? What did he ever do?
Cage face. Uh, yeah.
Like
What?
I don't know. I'd do it if someone's like, "Hey, I'll pay you some money to like be a cage face for this show." I'd be like, "Sure.
Yeah, why not?
I'll be a cage face for a while. I don't mind. I'm not afraid." But like otherwise, that actor probably has bigger aspirations than just like this little paycheck that he got.
Mhm.
He's like, "Rawr." I'm like, oh, sorry.
It just felt like, I don't know. I it really did feel like there was a lot, and there was a lot of times where I was like, okay, so Eric is clearly brainwashed. He's had a lobotomy. That orange syrup that he was drinking totally fried his brain.
I like to think of it as Kool-Aid,
Yeah, or
personally. He
orange
drank the
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid.
He drank the Kool-Aid, fried his brain, is now a zombie. Okay, now we're fighting Eric, and I was just like, man, there's so much here that
Mhm.
I think mostly with him, to be honest, that I was just like, I think this just comes back to I wish we saw more of his story, because it felt like
Mhm.
this was them shoving Eric's story down our throats.
Yeah, he's like, she showed me I could be your king.
Yeah, I was like, dude, chill.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like you had aspirations to be king. Okay.
Right? I'm like, oh, that wasn't the vibe we got at the beginning.
Right.
Which I guess checks with the whole brainwashing Kool Aid lobotomy thing.
Yeah, I guess. So like, yeah, it was funny. I liked the cure ass thing.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that it has the word ass in it, so that's kind of funny.
We're okay. So I was obviously, when I was watching it, you have like this whole moment where you realize like you're gonna have to fight. Where they realize they're gonna have to fight Eric, and Jade like puts that like, whatever it is onto Kit and is like, okay, like it's on you now. Like you're
Just
gonna,
like the jade stamp of approval. Oh,
yeah.
that's actually something other than a stamp.
I know.
Okay.
I was like, what is happening? And then, anyway, so you see Kit, like this whole like armor thing comes out, which I will say, I will give them credit that the way that they filmed that and it played out looked really cool.
Oh, it was really cool. I loved
Uh,
that. That was one of my favorite parts, actually.
yeah, it was really well done. Um, but she's like stepping in to fight her brother, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, they're really hyping her up as the hero. And I'm the whole time I was like, I wonder how Adam feels about this.
I know. I was like, so she's worthy. I
Yeah.
was, it's like, I don't know. Like, if she's worthy, that's a pretty low bar to set. Like, the Kiras is like, yeah, I'll basically take anyone.
I was like, man. As soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, so this is her redemption.
Oh, so all right. I'll say this. She had a big change of heart at the very end of the last episode.
Hmm.
Like, she's like, "All right, Alora, we're gonna go down there and do that, even if everyone else dies or leaves us or whatever. Even if we die, we have to go down there. This
Hmm.
is our thing. Like, I'm gonna help give you the courage. We're gonna be there. We're gonna be in it together." Like, she got over her prejudice toward Alora. She got over her idea of she has to be the number one person.
Hmm.
Like, I did think that there was significant growth there. And so, I mean, in terms of that, I did like that as kind of like a nod to like, hey, like maybe you still have some growth to do, but like she also was able to make things right with her knight friend with Enfys Nest,
Right.
Like at the end, she did have substantial growth and change. And so even though like I'm just kind of like first impressions die hard, like it's hard for me to be like, oh, I like her now. I like she turned into someone who I think I would typically kind of agree with. Oh, all right, sure. Like she's more worthy than Borman.
Hmm. Yeah, fair.
What I was hoping for actually was that the Cuirass would end up on Enfys Nest.
Okay.
Like that would have been a fun little like just kind of twist of just like yeah, you don't have to be the main character to be worthy, you know?
Yeah. Uh yeah, that would have been a good little twist. It was just funny. It was well done, and I like as soon as it happened, I was like, okay, hopefully it's worthy here and it's not rushed. And but it seemed
Well,
okay.
I was like, that's cool. The armor has swords in it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would have loved that as a kid. I'm like that's pretty dangerous though. You're just like scratching your chin and you actually like brush the button and you're like like just kill yourself because like you're trying to like wipe something off of your
Oh,
chin and yeah, it just seems dangerous. But if you can get beyond the danger, I mean, like Luke Skywalker, first thing he does, he's handed a laser
yeah.
sword. It points it at his eye. Like Obi-Wan's like, don't pull the trigger, kid. He's
Maybe
like,
don't
I'll
do that.
like do what you want, but gosh, he's like, your dad wasn't this stupid. But anyways, I did think it was funny, like that, and then she fought so well, like her knight friend
Hmm.
couldn't beat Eric on
Hmm.
like 2-on-1, and then she got her armor swords out,
Hmm.
and then she just destroyed him. So yeah, those like it's like weapons she's never used in her life.
Maybe it was a suit.
Yeah, it was just the cuirass.
Yeah, just helped her kick ass.
Yeah, it yeah cured.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, so anyway, it was cool. I'm always like I like the cool factor over the even though I like it's such a weird juxtaposition because in my mind I'm always noticing these little discrepancies, little plot holes. Like I just can't help it. I just like it's the grammar Nazi in me, the OCD, the like I just have to notice all these little things. But I always go for cool over like realistic if it's something cool, and I think this qualifies.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That is fair.
Yeah. So yeah, it was fine. I did, and I also liked that Alora was just like, actually, I'm just not really that into you.
Yeah.
Oh, here's something I wanted to ask. Did Alora used to have blonde hair?
No, I think it was always red.
I feel like it was pretty blonde.
Like the actress in this show, or
Yeah, like the character, like she was blonde when they first met her. I'm looking at a picture. She's totally blonde.
is she?
I think so.
It always
Here,
look.
I'll share my screen with you. I'll show it to you.
Oh
Whether
boy.
or not you want to. No, it's just a picture of like Disney Plus of like she's on one of the thumbnails. But here, can let me share the screen, please.
Okay. It's gonna go wonky on YouTube, but it'll be fine.
YouTube will live.
YouTube will live. All right, you can show me this.
Okay. Okay, so the whole screen. So number 4 here.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if that's just. Yeah, that's pretty blonde-ish.
I think she was just blonde at the start.
Which, like, she's described as a redhead, though. Like,
I don't know.
whenever they're talking about her, um, like in the movie, they talk about her with red hair.
Let me see if I can zoom this in more. She looks pretty blonde in this one too. This is as far as I can zoom in.
Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, anyways, it doesn't really matter that much. I just I thought it was funny, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay.
Here.
Yeah, she is very blonde there.
Yeah, like I don't think that's red hair.
No.
She
Huh.
is crazy blonde. Okay, so all right, I'm glad I'm just not going crazy. All right, I'll
No,
stop
you're
sharing.
not. Um,
So
but now I'm like, well, why is she redheaded suddenly?
I don't know. I like why is she? But what I guess so maybe she was redheaded. I don't know what like was the baby redheaded in the movie? Do you remember?
I'm pretty sure it was like strawberry blonde. Like it was like that reddish,
Just a little tint.
like that really light red. You
So
know?
maybe they just didn't want to give it away initially or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe it was part of her being disguised and like
There's like
hidden.
some kind of magical disguise that she's able to throw off.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I don't really care that much. I was because she has like such brightly red hair in this last episode, right?
Yeah, it's like it's red.
Yeah, like and it looks good on her. It's fine. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong. Like both of them are fine. I just like what at one point I was just like I thought she was blonde. I don't know. I don't
uh,
really care.
no, but now I'm curious, like what the point was.
You're a curious.
I'm curious what the point was.
Uh, yeah, I don't get it. So, I mean, there's still a lot of room for exploration. So, what are you satisfied with? First off, did you think that Graydon actually died?
I assumed he had. Like I was like, okay, he's gone. I thought he was gonna die when he was, trying to face off against Crone there with the little wand.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Like he's like wielding a knife in one hand and a flute in the other.
Yeah.
It's like,
I was like, okay,
but
he's gonna die here. Like that's it.
see, I thought he had significant growth too. Like I thought they did all
Yeah.
had some good growth, except for Enfys Nest didn't really need any growth. Kind of like she was just gonna be the badass, you know,
Mm-hmm.
warrior person. But like Graydon, I thought had a decent arc of like trying to overcome. But we still don't know a lot about his past.
I liked
With
him.
yeah, well, he was funny, and he was honest about things, which like no one else was really willing to be honest at first.
Mm-hmm.
Which he was just like, no, I'd be okay with not going with my future wife on this quest. Like, I don't really, it wouldn't be ideal, but I mean, I could be okay with it.
I'd be fine with
Yeah,
it. I could stay
yeah,
home.
Yeah, like he was just like, but he went from like being kind of a coward and not wanting to do anything to like knowing his place, being able to fit with the group of just, like he knew where, he's like, oh, I could kind of do some wizard stuff and kind of, like he was actually a valuable member at the end instead of
Right.
just, this like whiny guy who's funny for the viewers, but everyone else was thought it was annoying.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, I thought he was for sure just done.
See, I thought that he was gonna come out and be alive. I thought they gave up on him too easy. Like they're like the crone just like shoves him out into the nowhere, whatever lands, and
You just expected him to like run in through like a hallway kind of thing, be like, okay,
I
found my
just thought
way
he'd just
back.
show up. Yeah, I just thought he'd show up, and maybe he'd have some greater part to play, or maybe he wouldn't. But like I don't know. It just so I think the things that bug me are the things that are like, all right, they're running the whole time from the Crone's minions. Oh no, Crone's minions. These are so scary. And then Borman's like, I'm gonna go fight him alone, and he fights him alone. And then he comes out, and he's clearly like, it implies that he just killed all of them on his
Right.
own. And you're like, so why were you running? Like you had like Willow's flamethrower stick thing, and you had all this cool magic, and like some blade masters who can't decide if they're better than each other,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have all these different tools, and Borman can beat him all by on his own, but you're still like running from them. Oh no!
Yeah.
Like
Like, I
that's the
mean,
kind of thing that I'm like, you got to sell me a little more than that. Like I hope that the next season it just shows like he comes out and he's like, I'm a badass, and what really happened was just like some rock slide just like separated him from the
yeah.
bad guys and like saved him, and he's like, oh thank god I didn't have to fight them. you know?
uh, yeah. I mean, I feel like it was just more like they put more of the emphasis on Kit and Eric and Alora,
Yeah,
and then the other
I
ones were just kind of off to the side.
I like that Alora was able to just like throw off the shackles of the mind shackles that they were putting on her.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. And then I did think it was funny. Like they had like every story is so different. It's like okay, so in Star Wars you can't give in to your emotions while you're fighting
Mm-hmm.
because you'll turn to the dark side.
Right.
And the crone's like, see, like that it but then Graydon fought the crone, and she's like, see, you could tell he wanted to kill me. Like that's what gave him power. That's how he's a good wizard, you know? And then she does the stupidest thing, and she's like, I'll just kill him in front of you. And then Alora's like, now I'm angry.
Right. It
But
just
but it
like
wasn't
fuels her.
but it wasn't a corrupting it thing. Like at the end, she's just like, yeah, I'm still like, a white wizard or whatever, like a good person.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have to compromise on morality of, using her rage to fight the crone. It was just like, no, like do that. That's good. That's actually what you need to do.
Right.
But like she would totally have turned to the dark side if she was in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean it's just like,
100%.
yeah. So I whatever. I don't care. I thought it was funny. Like the crone's like, yeah, I'm kind of dumb.
Yeah. I mean, she just like fueled Alora, right? Like that's
Yeah.
she basically sentenced herself there. It was her own downfall.
Yeah, it's like if you were facing the crone and getting your ass just handed to you,
Mm-hmm.
like I would assume you would initially, and then she like just stabbed a random dog, and
Oh
then
man.
she would die. Like
Like
you wouldn't even need it.
immediately.
No one could cure her ass after you were done with it.
It's so true.
Yeah, see, like I
uh,
like know your audience, crone. Like how'd you get so old,
uh,
like killing people that way? Well, that was foolish, stupid. Like, all right, crone.
um, but I will say, so like this whole episode, jam packed, whatever, tons of stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on. not a lot of wrapping up in terms of storylines. Kind of, not really. It was more like a setup, really. Like they were just like, here we are, end of season 1, setting it up for season 2,
Yeah.
which may or
Well,
may not
and
happen.
well, what they're hoping for now is people are going to watch it, and then there'll be like this big outcry, like you better give us the next 2 seasons. Like that's their
Mm-hmm.
ploy, right? Like you have to think that they're not sure if they're going to get another season or not.
Right.
They're like, all right, well, we don't have the good, like we don't have just like the magic wand of, like second season ness, like just
Mm-hmm.
like if it was Star Wars or Marvel or something, then they already know that people are gonna like Loki or whatever, like, oh yeah, we like, like pre-approved kind of,
Right.
and part of like a bigger story. They don't have that. They don't have any protection. Like this could just end. This really could. And so they have to enlist the help of viewers, I think. I think that was their strategy, at least.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all they could do.
Well, and so I don't know if you like, so throughout the whole thing, I like the craft of this though. Like, so they're going through, and every chapter they show like, or every time they show a chapter, and it's the title of
Mm-hmm. Of
the
the
title of the
episode.
episode. And then they finally closed it at the end of the episode, and they put the book back on the shelf, and there was volume 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Oh, I did not see that at the end of it.
Yeah, so like they put this volume on the shelf
Mm-hmm.
right next to a book that said 2, like next to the books that said 3, and then
Mm-hmm.
it was a distinct book after, but
Which is why they
but
want the
like
next 2 seasons.
yeah. Well, yeah, so like it's intended as a 3-part series.
Right. Which, I mean,
So
I do really enjoy when shows have an arc kind of laid out.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like they have at least part like the starting of a plan. I mean, you remember last episode when I was telling you like that, remember how I was like, well, it's gonna be like a skirmish at best because there's no like vast army of things, like Willow has that vision of there's like this big group of soldiers that are dead, like a
Mm-hmm.
pile of soldiers that have died in some kind of huge battle. And I'm like, I don't see that as a thing
Right.
right now. Not to mention like the woodcutter women who like swear loyalty to Alora, and it's like there's like this whole group of people who have like been raised on the idea that Alora Dannon's gonna come and raise an army to fight the dark,
Mm-hmm.
and that just never came to fruition. But it makes a lot more sense if there's a 3-part series, and like part 2 or part 3, she does start raising a big army to fight the worm and all those weird creatures and stuff.
Right. And I mean, it kind of looked like that's what they were setting it up for.
Yeah.
Right. Because you've got this whole scene at the end where she goes back for Graydon.
I don't know if she would. I don't think she went back for him. I think that was the worm faking him out.
Oh, okay. So that's a great point because I noticed, I was like, she looks like her hair was cut shorter. She looked more like, I don't know.
Well, she wearing like a kind of a more darker thing, like,
Yeah.
but she also looked like more seductive, kind of,
Yeah.
like
And I noticed that and I was like, okay, like, I guess you're just, I didn't even think of that.
I think that's just the worm messing with like just like the crone is actually this
Ooh.
hideous like barely toothed creature,
Mm-hmm.
but she looks hot. I think it's just the worm doing that
I'm
sort of
so disappointed I didn't think of that because that's basically exactly what happened to Eric.
thing. Yeah. The worm's
Oh,
like, I got, now that I don't have Eric chugging my Kool-Aid, I got plenty for other people.
mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm curious if that's actually what it is.
I'm confident enough that I'm not going to go back and watch, not because I don't like the show,
Mm-hmm.
but also because I don't like the show enough to watch it a second time
I mean,
right
fair.
away. Well, I mean, I have to budget my time so much right now. I just don't have. I've been complaining about it. I don't have personal time really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, content creation has become a whole job for me now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a way, this podcast, because we don't have it monetized, we don't make a dime off of it.
Right.
In a lot of ways, this is like my free time in a way.
Mm-hmm. Um,
So in a way, that's like me hinting that you should just let me choose all the shows that we watch moving forward.
You really want to watch
I
Squid
don't.
Games, don't you?
You know what? I do, but I don't know if I want to. I don't need to talk about it here. We're good.
um, okay. Do you have anything else you want to say about Willow before we move on?
I just want to ask you: do you think Graydon is going to end up being the bad guy,
Ooh.
or at least like, do you think he'll end up going willingly? Like, do you think he'll be a bad guy?
Ooh. I could see that being a thing that happens as a device.
Okay, I I,
I
I think he'll go ahead.
I could just see him if this is the worm, like you say. I could see him 100% being like, okay, cool, thinking it's not the worm and that it is Alora, and then that being kind of like what starts it.
That's fair. I think he's got a pure heart, actually.
I think he
I think they're
does.
gonna I think we're going to go a whole season thinking he's bad, but
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be little hints that he's
Oh.
actually good, but just like little things that like you don't notice until you finally they show like this big panorama of him like hesitating or like not doing a thing just for a second or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and you're like, oh, that's him pretending to be a bad guy and not actually being a bad guy.
So you think he's
That's
gonna
what I
like
think.
fake it out intentionally?
I think he's gonna save the day, is what I think. I think
Mm.
it's gonna be like he figures out because he's a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna figure out that the worm is a treacherous asshole and that it's not actually Alora Dannon that he's sleeping with every night. It's some weird dragon creature that the
Ugh.
worm is disguising. I know it's awkward, but that fits with the show as well. But he's gonna figure it
It's
all out
Cage
at some
Man.
point. What's that?
I said it's Cage Man.
Yeah, Cage Face.
Cage Face.
He has a relationship with Cage Face.
uh, um.
That would prep him for a relationship with Borman later too.
See, now I'm more intrigued for season two, just based off of these like thoughts and what if this, what if that.
That's I'm always like if I don't think something's interesting, I don't think of it like I always just like to what if.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't like the What If series that much with Marvel because I'm like I don't get to make the What If. Like why are they in charge of What If? What the hell, man?
Oh man. Oh man, yeah. Now I'm curious if that's what's gonna happen with. I'm more curious what's gonna happen with Graydon, to be honest, than the other ones.
Right. It's like, what's Willow gonna do? Like, go be overprotective of his like grown ass daughter?
Right. Willow's not even in season two. It's still called Willow.
They should just call it like Oak or something.
Yeah.
uh, Elora.
Laura.
Oh,
Graydon.
yeah, that would be fun. Cage face.
uh,
All right.
okay.
Um, shall we move to Bad Batch?
Yeah, let's talk about Bad Batch.
So
Episode 3.
only one episode,
Mm-hmm.
but a really important character, not just Crosshair, because it was
Mm-hmm.
obvious from the thing. Um, yeah, let me find the title page here. It's
Synopsis for us.
synopsis for it. Yeah. So episode 3, clones battle against a separatist holdout.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was so conflicted the whole time, actually. This was really interesting to me. Um
Like this whole episode was?
it was actually because it just had a lot of implications. Like I don't know, I could talk forever about it. Let me just shut myself up though and ask you what your thoughts are, please. Please
Um,
share.
so at first, when I realized, I was like, okay, this whole. I think I realized maybe not quite halfway through, but like we were in it for a little bit where I was like, okay, this whole thing is going to be Crosshair. This is a Crosshair episode. Um,
Hmm.
and so I always I got like a little bit disappointed because I was like, oh, I want more Bad Batch
Right.
Squad time.
Like crazy wrecker and
Yeah.
we're awkward but sincere tech and whatever. Yeah.
Right. Which is hilarious because I just spent, however long complaining that we didn't get any Eric backstory for Willow. So I think this was an important episode just in terms of seeing Crosshair and also Cody.
Well, yeah, and that was the big one because, I mean, okay, so there's like this discrepancy in the lore a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so like when you watched Rebels,
Mm-hmm.
um, and Ezra and Kanan go and meet up with Rex and Gregor and Wolf, and they're exiled, like they exiled themselves. They're
Yeah.
scoping for Jupas or whatever. And at some point, Rex is like, "No, I didn't kill my commander. We all have a choice,
Mm.
right?" And then so it's like, okay, so the clones were kind of predisposed to following Order 66, but they had a choice.
Right.
Like Rex made a choice. But then you find out later in the Clone Wars, in the episode when they made the new season 7,
Mm-hmm.
that Rex was trying to kill Ahsoka. Like you could see he was kind of struggling with it, but he would have killed her.
Right.
He was trying to, and so when he didn't have a choice, then it becomes like, oh, so Cody didn't just choose to murder his commander.
Right.
Like the choice was kind of removed from him. He just saw an enemy that he had to take care of. Like it was so Cody is kind of off the hook of being a bad guy. For a long time I was like, well, what a dick. Like Rex chose not to be a dick, but Cody chose to. Like he's
Okay.
fine
Right.
with just murdering him. But as it turns out, no one had a choice for a while, at least.
Right.
So this made me excited to see Cody, because it's like, okay, what's he going to choose now? Because now they're starting to get their personalities back and their
Mm-hmm.
thought processes back, and it's like, what's Cody going to do? Is he gonna be that, like, would he choose to murder Kenobi again if he saw him?
Right. Like that was the thing. I was like, okay, so we've got Cody here and Crosshair here, and like you said, they're getting their personalities back and everything, which I mean, doesn't feel like Crosshair ever really lost his personality, but
Well, he's also not an engaging guy. Like
no.
he's not. To me, he's like, okay, he's amazing at shooting, but it's also like he's just like built to do that. In a way, he's a freak of nature. He is literally just a representation of some weird flaw of nature, and
Right.
that's it. He's a mutation, and yeah, he's just an acerbic asshole.
Right. Um but yeah,
Like,
no,
not likable, really.
he's not likable. But I think we needed this. Like I
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed seeing it because now I'm like, okay, well, where are we going? And it almost makes me feel like I don't want to say more invested, but now I'm like, are you gonna go back to your squad? Like, are you gonna go back to the Bad Batch? And like, because now, like you said, the chips are starting to sort of fade or whatever. Like, so theoretically, it's all gonna come down to Crosshair's choice.
Right.
Like he's not gonna be able to argue that it's the chip making him do these things anymore. So is he going to choose to stay where he is, or is he going to choose to go back, or
Right.
what?
To just yeah, I mean, so it's more sympathetic now, because you learn that first off, his commander is Admiral Rampart, and he always waits till he is eating to call him in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, super dick move. Like, he just starts his breakfast and Rampart calls him in, and then Rampart clearly doesn't trust him because he just found out that the Bad Batch were alive, and
Right.
he doesn't trust him. And Crosshair doesn't necessarily know that, but like, no one wants to hang out with him.
Mm-hmm. I know, that was actually like a little bit sad. He sat down and the one clone got up.
Both of them, yeah, like they both
Mm-hmm.
shut up. They wouldn't talk. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would do the same if I was, if I didn't know a guy just randomly sat with me, but like they just both coldly got up, like, oh, we don't want anything to do with this guy, kind of.
Yeah. It was a little bit sad.
Oh yeah, yeah. I get like he's still like I'm like I don't blame him though because he's a dick. So there's that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Well, and that's the thing. Like, how do they make him a compelling character? Like, he is the one. I said last episode,
Hmm.
he's the guy who is the most important in the show. He has to be the one to make
Hmm.
all the to make realizations about things, to finally comprehend that no, he's not an imperial soldier. He
Hmm.
thinks he has been this whole time because good soldiers follow orders, and that's he identifies with that strongly.
Right.
And yet, like at what point does a good soldier realize that he's not a droid? Like I love that at the end where Cody just challenged him, kind of. He's just like, well, you know what makes us different than robots is we can actually think for ourselves. And he just kind of drove home like the things you do are your own fault.
Right.
Like you have to live with that. And that clearly uh haunted him because up till then it's like he didn't get it.
Right. I mean, it's. I feel like maybe you knew that there was going to be a Crosshair episode because last week, like you said, you're like, yeah, we need more Crosshair. He's going to be the important guy, and here we are with the Crosshair episode.
Well, I didn't think we'd just have a just crosshair. I mean,
Right.
once I saw the picture of it, I was like, oh, I bet it's just gonna be him. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like you have to see what happens to him after, but he waited on that platform for a month, like 32 cycles. He said, like that's
Hmm.
a month until the Empire picked him up.
Which is ridiculous.
Right. Well, and it's not gonna be long. Like, so here's what I'm worried about. All right. So we could talk about the other cool stuff in this episode, which there are some cool things,
Hmm.
and it's a very conflicting things, but at the end of the day, like I'm worried that they're going to try to kill him and kick him out of the Empire before he chooses to leave.
Oh,
I
which
want
would
him
be
to make the choice.
yeah, which would be bad if they did it that way. I think.
Yeah, well, because Rampart is clearly just like, yeah, I'll just keep sending you on missions, but I don't trust you. Like Cody, defects, he leaves.
Hmm.
And he's like, oh, isn't that strange? Everyone who's around you keeps leaving. Like, what? Like he doesn't, and he clearly doesn't trust him because he knows that the Bad Batch are alive because he heard that report from episodes 1 and 2.
Right. But I totally agree with you. I think if they like try to throw Crosshair out versus him just choosing to leave, I think that completely taints Crosshair.
Right. Or if I mean, I would honestly, it'd be even more interesting if he's like, all right, they don't trust me, but I still believe in the Empire. I still
Mm.
think it's good. Like,
Hmm.
I just want him to make a choice. I don't want him to be like, oh, they tried to kill me. I guess I can't stay here. I guess I have to go
Right.
out, go it alone. Like, I want him to make a choice.
Hmm.
The decision for me is everything. I want that. And then he can. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's kind of good to see like people that you're like, you know what, I am a little bit rooting for him, even though he's not likable, really. Like he's friends with my friends. Not that I'm friends with Bad Batch, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they care for him as a brother. Like I kind of have that same feeling toward him. Like they've done a good job
Hmm.
of that, and I'm like, I want good things for him if he stops like murdering people.
Right. Theoretically.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great point.
But yeah, I just want him to make a choice because I feel like that's the death of a good story is when a character is conflicted and then they're just saved from having to make a choice
Yeah.
by some other thing.
Something happens to them that makes the choice for them.
Right. Yeah, it's like, should I marry this person or not? Like I don't love them, but it'd be good for my kingdom or whatever.
Hmm.
And then like the person gets murdered and they're like, well, I don't have to worry about that choice after all.
Right. You just
And
carry
you're
on.
like, okay, well, thank you for that. Like, I don't care. I don't care that it was like cool ninjas that killed him and it was a really epic looking battle. Like, I wanted the choice. I wanted the really simple, like, human making a decision.
Hmm. Um. Okay, so what else did you enjoy in this episode? I thought it was really cool that they were fighting separatists. I enjoyed
All right,
this.
so yeah, I mean, anyone who loves the Clone Wars or who, I don't know, I was gonna say grew up watching them. Like, I was in college, so it's not like I grew up watching, but
Debatable.
like, sure, sure. I mean, I learned a lot from those little one-liner clips, like you know, the slowest so and so gets the such and such,
Mm-hmm.
like they always have some little words of wisdom. No, I didn't learn much, but some of them are like really questionable. I'm like, I don't actually think that I want my kids to think that. Actually, some of them I was like, oh, that's sketch, but like little epigrams. But anyways, but it's fun, like it's familiar, right? Like clones killing battle droids, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
people who can think versus overwhelming numbers.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, there's that, and it's Cody. Hey, it's Cody. It's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's familiar, it's fun, and yet it's the Empire subjugating a planet that doesn't want to get subjugated.
Right.
And I don't know who to root for in that situation. Like I'm like, don't kill Cody and don't kill Crosshair before he makes his decision.
Right. Everyone else is fair game.
Yeah, like and a bunch of clones. I was like, where? Well, I kept wondering where they kept getting new clones. It was like, okay, so they start with this group of them, they crash, and they go in, and then Droideka kills some, Commando droids kill some, and it's like, oh, it's just Cody and Crosshair,
Mm-hmm.
and then more clones appear. I'm like, there's a very limited number of clones on that shuttle, and a lot of them died in the crash, so I don't
So,
know. I mean, so did that part appeal to you? I mean, I know that you and I don't necessarily like. I like action sequences. Some I like story better. I
mm-hmm.
feel like you care even less about action sequences.
I, I don't know if it necessarily appealed to me, but I think it was more of like the familiarity, like you were saying. Like, you've got
Yeah.
the droids and you've got the clones, and you're like, okay. And like for me, I was like, oh, cool, they're fighting separatists. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, like Empire fighting separatists, okay. Because I associate both of them as bad.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, bad fighting bad. Okay.
Right.
Who's the bigger bad?
Well, yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to tell you what you have to feel, but
Mm-hmm.
I did sympathize with the separatists more. I thought it was
Right.
such an interesting take. She's like, Count Dooku knew this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though Dooku was in on it, the stuff he spread to to them wasn't necessarily all lies. Like
Well,
he got them kind of ready to fight an empire in a way.
I feel like I did sympathize with them a little bit more, only because that Order 66 has happened and these clones are acting on orders from the Empire and like all this kind of stuff. So you know that it's an attack that's being assaulted from one side, even though it is like bad on bad, so to speak.
Hmm?
Yeah, it does make it considerably easier to sympathize with the separatists.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh good, the droid killed a clone. Wait, no,
Right.
why am I glad?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, it was very conflicting for me. Like that was the interesting part. Like there was so much tension, and I was like, this is so fascinating that I'm kind of rooting for the separatists here,
Yeah.
and yet I'm rooting for the Empire too. But it's actually clones that I'm rooting for.
It's very like you feel torn.
The one person that no one was rooting for is that that asshole Imperial governor.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I did chuckle a little bit when the droidicas rolled in and they're like, "Oh, droidicas." And you see like the one droidica roll in and the shields go down and I was like, "Ah, damage immunity." Okay.
From Galaxy of Heroes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's
uh
funny. Yep, I know. You're like, damn it all. I did forgot someone who could dispel buffs.
yeah. Where's Echo when you need him?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a droid popper.
um yeah, but I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I would not enjoy when I realized that we weren't getting any of the other Bad Batch characters in it. I didn't think I would enjoy it very much, and I surprisingly did.
Okay. I don't know where they're gonna go from here. So
No.
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I was sad. I mean, I liked the leader lady, and it was so sad. Like Cody talked her down,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just murdered her, and it was Crosshair who did it predictably, kind of, and it was just like, I don't know, just it's disappointing, you know.
Yeah, it
It's like,
is.
what did she think she was gonna do? Like, at some point, she needed to be more brutal about things or something. Like, she needed
Hmm.
more. She needed to do more. But yeah, just freaking Empire, man.
Yeah. And I don't know where they go from here either.
Right. So Cody's gone. I don't know if we see him again. I kind of hope we do. I don't care about him as much as like Rex and the others.
Right. But you wouldn't mind seeing him like not necessarily every episode or every other episode, but like he could pop up.
I would like to see him meet up with Rex and talk about what Cody did to Kenobi. I would like to hear what
Hmm.
Cody's. So I guess this is the big thing about Cody. To me, I don't think he's necessarily to blame for trying to kill Kenobi, but I would like to know what his feelings were afterward.
Right.
Of just like, because it would give insight to what residual thoughts the clones had about the great betrayal of the Jedi.
That's a good point. And you would get that like after the fact kind of thing.
Right, because Rex didn't ever really totally betray the, like, he tried to kill Ahsoka, she took his chip out, and then he was just free the whole rest of the time.
Right.
Um, and the Bad Batch never did turn on the Jedi, and so we don't have anyone from the clone side of point of view that actually tells us the clones feel sad or like regret, like, why did we kill the Jedi? Or maybe
Hmm.
their programming did stick in them, and they're like, no, I don't like the Empire, but we had to kill the Jedi. They were awful.
Right.
Like, I want to know what their side of it is. Like, once their mind is cleared, once they've had perspective, what are their thoughts?
Yeah.
I want to know.
That would be fantastic if we saw that.
And Cody would be a good window to see that through.
It would also be like kind of sad.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's such a compelling thing. Like, at the end of the day, people whine about the prequels, and now the sequels are here, so everyone loves the prequels a lot because they're not the sequels at least, you know.
Right.
But uh, you know, like, people, but there's a pretty cool way to actually, like, it was, so with the technology that's possible, like, way in the future,
Hmm.
it seemed kind of a plausible way, and it paints Sidious as like, wow, like, I don't agree with what he did, but that was a, like, masterstroke, just really impressive
Hmm.
of him.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, it would be great to see it. So, but yeah, other than that though, like, and who knows if we'll even see that, but I really don't know where they're gonna go next.
do you think we could handle another Just Crosshair episode, or do we need to go back to Bad Batch themselves first?
I think we do need to go back to Bad Batch. I don't know what you do with, or if you're gonna have another Crosshair episode, I think it would be like a half and half. Like start with Crosshair and then go to Bad Batch.
Kind of where they're interacting again, like they just happen to be on a mission on the planet that he's assigned to or something.
Yeah, something like that where you have like a little bit of a crossover with Crosshair.
A Crosshair over.
Yeah. Um yeah, so but I wouldn't mind if they don't interact. If we had like a couple more Bad Batch episodes and then another Crosshair one. I think that would be a good way until they because I think even though I will say I don't know where they're going necessarily storyline wise or what they're going to do next, I think it's safe to assume, even though I know you think I shouldn't assume things, but safe to assume that we are going to see Crosshair and the Bad Batch squad meet up at some point during this season.
Oh yeah, what's the point if
Right?
they don't?
So,
I think that they're going to have to go through great danger to help him somehow. He's
mhm.
gonna defect, but then they have to, like, defy the Empire in great odds to go pick up their brother.
Right, and save him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he'll be like, oh, like, and they'll say something that counters good soldiers follow orders. It's like, good brothers always stick together. So
Right.
that's cheap. That's too dumb. But something something pithy, like, it's like, oh yeah, well, good soldiers follow orders, but here's the thing, here's the rule that you should have been following the whole time, stupid.
Right. And kind of wake him up a little bit.
Sure. Sure. Well, and he'll just be like, oh, or who knows? Who knows?
Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just stay on the Empire.
Sometimes that's what a good story needs. Sometimes you just need a guy who's like, you know what? I'm bad, and I guess I'll just go down with the ship being bad,
They
This is
embrace
who
it.
I am.
Yep.
Yeah, they own it,
100%.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. He's fun.
yeah.
It's going to be a fun episode, a fun season, I hope.
I think it will be too. Was there anything else in this episode that stuck out to you that we missed?
Not
I'm trying
really.
to think about it. I don't think there was.
I mean, that's only a short episode, and
Yeah.
it's fun to see Cody, fun to see Crosshair, but ultimately, 30 minutes is just not enough to tell that crazy long, compelling of a story. So
Right. It's just little snippets until next week.
yeah.
So yeah.
Which is fine. Yeah, I find myself satisfied.
Yeah. I'm not like um fawning over it or anything, but it's good.
Yeah, I do think it's super fascinating to think, like, what happens to, I always wonder, at the end of certain things, at the end of an era, what happens to this group, like, you know, well, so, okay, if you like the Two Towers in Lord of the Rings, if you like that show or the movies, the elves come and reinforce Helm's Deep, which is not in the books, it's not in the lore necessarily, but it's part of the big story there. It's a big, cool, epic thing, and I think the movie is better for it. However, at some point, like the elves are guarding this big wall, and the wall gets blown up in Helm's Deep, and then the elves have to run in. They're like, they have to fight the orcs for a while, and they get called in to the keep to help defend that, because it's like, well, your position's untenable, you need to get out of there. So the elves are retreating, and very clearly some of them die on their way in, but a lot of them get in. But then we never see another elf the rest of the movie.
Right.
For that in Helm's Deep, like, they just disappear. They're like, they've just, and they haven't been all slaughtered. They just like stopped being important to the story, so they stop putting them in the shots.
Right.
And I guess that's the same thing as in bigger pictures. Like, I never really thought of it like this, but that's how it happened to the clones for a long time. Of like, what happened to the clones after Order 66? They just, like, the Empire suddenly had stormtroopers, and that was it.
Right.
And this is telling the story of what happened to the clones.
Yeah, you're filling in that gap a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice. Like, it didn't need to be told, and yet it's a little pocket of story that I find very interesting, actually.
Right. Yeah. No, I like it. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good season.
I hope so. That and The Last of Us, or potentially Squid Game.
Right. We'll see. Okay, so then I guess, is that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, until next week, where there is no more Willow.
I'm kind of sad. I liked it.
Yeah, it was fine. It was odd, but I think that's part of its deal.
I mean, why do you think I hang out with you?
Sure.
There's something about oddness.
Something about oddness. Lovely. So no Willow, just Bad Batch, and then I guess maybe The Last of Us or Squid Game. Let's not do Squid Game.
I'm not that serious about Squid Game.
Okay, that's good, because I think it's gonna give me nightmares.
I mean, if The Last of Us gives me nightmares, then I'm out.
We could be at a stalemate. Okay.
We could just both be like, well, I like my show because of this. Well, I like my show because of this. Oh, but your show doesn't have this. Oh, yes, it does, and it does this thing. We could just fight about it. It won't be compelling.
No, it would just be chaos. Uh, uh
Rampant chaos.
okay, so maybe we will give The Last of Us a try.
Probably.
All right, and we'll see how bad it is or good. I think they'll do a good job.
I'm sure it will be well done. It's HBO. I just I need HBO to pick up Stormlight Archive, man.
Is that going to
That's what I
be
need.
is that like a rumor for it to be turned into something, or are you just wishing that?
So some other group has the movie rights right now, and
Oh,
as far as I know, they're not doing much with it. So, but eventually, movie rights get passed to a different group if they don't do anything with it. And yeah, there's no rumor though.
ah, okay. Just checking.
Yeah, I just yeah, it's my favorite series ever. So it'd be nice. They're already making Wheel of Time, which is my other favorite. So I guess all I need now is like a Drizzt Do Erden Dark Elf R.A. Salvatore show. That might be epic.
Hmm.
So, all right, I think I'm good.
We're good.
Yeah, The Last of Us might be the last of us, the last of our episodes that cover it, but hopefully we'll do it one episode at least.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll talk to everyone next week.
Yeah, guys, take care.